Hi everyone and welcome to Classic Gamer 74. I'm your host Anthony Gamer, and today's episode is about lost classics for the Atari 2600, and to help me out are two classics themselves, my friend Andy and my friend Elmer. Because of the video game crash of 1983 and 84, a lot of good or potentially classic games by third-party game companies were ignored by gamers. Many of these games were only discovered in recent years, have now developed cult followings. Exactly, and some games by well-known third-party game companies have also been discovered in recent years, or have gone to the cult status, as they were not very popular during their time period. Thus, this list is called Lost Classics. A majority of the games that you're going to see in today's episode were released after the video game crash of 83 and 84. However, some of them were released right around that time, and then there were a couple that were released earlier that were ignored, unfortunately, because of a lot of the bad games that came out during that time period. So, you guys ready to get started? I am. Me too. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, Elmer, take it away. Alright, now the first game company we're going to talk about today is Avalon Hill Games. Avalon Hill is one of the few third-party game companies still in business to this day. Many of their games came out in the later part of the 80s and were pretty much ignored, even though they were extremely well ahead of their time. Their games are also extremely rare this day and age and go for quite a bit of money on eBay. Today we're going to discuss 4 of their best games. Thank you, Elmer. And the first game we're going to discuss is Shuttle Orbiter from 1983, programmed by Bill Hood. Okay, this game isn't your typical space shooter or vertical shooter. This is a simulated look at what it would be like to pilot a space shuttle, as you're taken from every aspect from the launch, separation, and guiding it around the Earth's orbit as you're trying to help find pieces of a broken space station and put it back together. Quite a difficult and very involved game. It comes with a pretty heavy book. This is not your typical easy to master game. It's going to probably take you a while to figure this game out. So definitely for those who enjoy the space simulator and flight simulator type games. Also, this game is quite valuable and goes for sometimes hundreds of dollars on eBay. And this is Space Orbiter from 1983 by Avalon Hill Games. And next up we have Out of Control. Hey, didn't you talk about this in another episode? I sure did, Andy, in the episode about rare and valuable Atari games. What makes this game different than the other games on that list is one big thing. And what's that? This game is actually fun, so let's check it out. Now, in this particular game, what you're trying to do is pilot this spaceship and either go between certain items or go around them. Now, I always kind of got the feeling that this would have been a kind of a cool Activision game. Why do you say that? Well, because if you look in the book there, it says that, they give you a certain amount of time for you to get around these objects, to be like the supreme pilot or something like that. And, if Activision had put this game out, they probably would have offered patches for doing such a thing. Oh, yeah, for sure. Really, this is a lost classic, not only because the game was so rare, but also because it's so valuable and goes for usually like hundreds and even a couple $1,000s on eBay, which unfortunately has made this game kind of unappreciated for its gameplay. I think if the game hadn't been as valuable as it is, more people would probably get the game for playing it as opposed to getting the game just to say that they own a very valuable game. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Incidentally, have you ever been able to get any of the scores in the instruction manual that they think you're supposed to be able to get? No, believe it or not, in this first level, they think that you should be able to complete this in 30 seconds. I just don't see that happening. No, me neither. Anyway, this is Out of Control by Avalon Hill from 1983, programmed by Jim Jacob. Next up, from 1983, we have Wall Ball, programmed by Duncan Scott. Now, how many of you guys actually enjoyed playing Super Breakout? I did, and I think just about everyone who owned a 2600 enjoyed that game or owned it. Well, in Super Breakout, you're trying to break down the wall from the side, looking at it from the side. Imagine looking at it head on. So this game is quite similar to racquetball, except for in this version you're trying to knock out the whole wall. A lot of fun and a highly addictive game, one that I've really enjoyed playing. Again, Wall Ball from 1983. And our final Avalon Hill game today is London Blitz from 1983, programmed by William J. Shepard. In this game, you are a policeman who is also on the bomb squad, and your mission is to find this mad bomber somewhere in the streets of London and then defuse the bomb. Now, of course, this wouldn't be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Now, would it? No, of course not. This one, you're going through a maze of streets trying to find your way to the mad bomber. And that's only part of it. Once you get there, you got to figure out how to defuse the bomb without blowing everybody up. One of the first-person games that I've seen that outside of the Star Path games that I reviewed in a previous episode, but like them, it also is not easy. Very fun game, but one that you're not going to be able to beat the first night you play it, and maybe not even the second or third or fourth time you play it. But quite a fun game, very challenging, and one that has replayability. And this is London Blitz. Alright, in this game, Tanks But No Tanks, I really like that title, so do I. What you're doing is trying to protect your base from these evil enemy tanks, and the only thing standing between you and your base is this really complex maze. So you kind of have to play sniper and use guerrilla warfare to pounce on them before they get too close to your base. Kind of a fun game, and it does have replayability, as once you get past this level, the enemy tanks become faster and the maze is more complex. So quite a fun game, and one I believe that's very underrated, and this is Tanks But No Tanks by Zymac. Now, the next game that we're going to discuss is the main reason why these two guys are here in the first place. This game is called Master Builder, which was definitely a game that my father would have liked, and these guys really like it, don't you guys? Oh yes, I really enjoy it. Although, to be honest with you, the game would be more fun after you build the house if you got to put the carpeting in. Ah, bourgeois. This game is all about building. Well, still, it would have been nice to be able to put the carpet down. Don't they have a game where you put down carpeting? No, not as far as I know. This is, I'll look into it, but I don't really think they have a carpeting game. Well, of course not, because anybody can put down carpeting. The hard thing to do is to build a house by yourself. And if you come to my store, I will sell you the necessary tools in order to build your own house. Your store isn't in business anymore. Oh yeah. Well, anyway, let's check out the game. Okay, as Andy pointed out, Master Builder is a game in which you are building a variety of houses. And this game was released by Spectravision, a game company that kind of had a bad reputation because of one really bad game that they released in which you were a dog being chased by a chuck wagon, but we won't talk about that. Alright, so let's check out Master Builder. Alright, now as the Master Builder game starts, you can get a look at some of the different buildings that you are expected to build during the course of this game. Some of them are pretty easy, others of them are extremely difficult. So, if you are one of the poor unfortunate souls that does not have the manual, head over to our Facebook page and we will show you a detailed drawing of what the buildings are to look like. You can download it yourself and use it while you play the game. Now, Andy, you want to explain the game to us? Sure thing. What you're doing is you are going to be building this really cool these cool houses. Now, all you have to do is just make them look like they see in the picture. You pick up the materials, climb the ladder, and move and drop the bricks. It's pretty simple, huh? Well, it would be simple, but this is a video game. And of course, when you have a video game, things are not as easy as you think they're going to be. Now, in this here particular game, you have to worry about dogs coming knocking you off the ladder, electrical storm, and some other things. So, see, there's that pesky dog. So, and you kind of got to do it in a short amount of time. So, also, if you complete the level, a helicopter will come and take you to the next building site. So, if you'd like to see this first house completed, head over to our Facebook page, and you can see me and Elmer build this house from scratch. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Again, this is Master Builder from Spectravision. Do you enjoy pinball? Of course. If you do, you're going to really love this game, Bumper Bash, by Spectravision, programmed by David Lubar and developed by Sirius Software. This game, however, is quite rare and was only available in Canada. However, it has to be probably one of Spectravision's best games and definitely a lost classic. This is Bumper Bash. And our final game today comes from Activision. But of course you would expect at least one game from Activision, as they are the greatest third-party game developers in the world. This game is called Cosmic Commuter and was programmed by John Van Ryzen. Alright, in Cosmic Commuter, you are driving this interplanetary bus, and you have 9 commuters that you have to pick up before you are able to take them back to the launch pad and send them into outer space. And of course, like any Activision game, you've got a bunch of things coming at you. I think those are supposed to be asteroids or space junk or something. But you have to pick up your 9 commuters and watch out for the space junk and watch your fuel level to make sure that you don't run out of fuel before you complete your quest. Quite a fun game. Unfortunately, it came out in 1985. It was actually programmed in 1984, but it wasn't released until a year later after the game Hero was released. So this game, unfortunately, went pretty much ignored. But I feel it was probably one of Activision's best games and definitely a lost classic. So, again, this is Cosmic Commuter from 1985 by Activision, programmed by John Van Ryzen. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Classic Gamer 74. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give us a great big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And, of course, I want to thank my guests, Elmer. Hey, thanks, everybody. And, of course, Handy Andy. Remember, with Handy Andy, you've got it made. Know of any other games that were lost classics? Games that maybe you enjoyed playing that you felt were ignored? Let us know in the comments section below, and who knows, they may be the subject of a later episode. In our next episode, we will be discussing games that were exclusive to the ColecoVision. Well, until that time, this is Anthony Ventrello. On behalf of my friends Elmer and Andy, I want to thank you for stopping by, and we will see you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.